What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivanchi, and we are here with from season 3, episode 2, and wow, what a note to start on. Like, crazy. So much happened in episode 1. I'm just gonna skip like who it stars, everything like that at this point. Y'all already know that the information will be in the show notes and it'll be in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube. So we're just gonna jump right on into the episode because I really don't know where else to start. So as we left off last episode, we saw that the monsters are basically smart. They're not mindless creatures. They're not doing anything. They know that the people in this town started to get hope and they were trying to escape, and they're doing everything they can to keep them trapped, to keep them desolate. The food is rotting, okay? They ended up tricking everyone by releasing the animals out of the barn just for Boyd and Tianchen to try to get one of the cows back. Jade and everyone else got the rest of the animals into any house or any building that they could, and it was a setup and it was a trap, and they used Boyd's words against him that this town will not break him. And so they tied him up, handcuffed him with his hands behind his back, and made him watch as they tore Tianchen piece by piece. So in episode 2, we open it up. It's the next day and Jade is in his area and it's all like wild and crazy and everything still from episode 1, and he has some animals and things in there. So he's just kind of looking around and he goes out and someone tried to stop him and he was like, somebody has to go like look. They were out in the barn. We don't know what's going on. Like, somebody has to go figure out what's going on. And really quickly before we get into everything, I just want to say the town make everybody look bad, but somehow Jade looks better. Like, houseway, like Jade stuck in Middle America Bay, Apocalypse Bay. Like, what's happening? He's very handsome. Anyways, I just needed to throw that out there. So he's going out into the barn and he walks in and Tianchen is on the ground and chunks of her body is missing, and he finds Boyd over there chanting something, like with his head down, exhausted, but like trying to stay awake. And you know, he's talking to him and Jade is freaked out because he's like, what happened? And he's like, they made me watch. And so Boyd tells him that they left the key to the handcuffs in his pocket, and Jade uncuffs him. And it's just crazy because they really were like, we'll let you free. We'll give everybody the tools for you to get free. But we want you to tell, what did she say in Game of Thrones? I want you to tell Cersei that it was me. Like, the monsters was like, I want you to tell everybody else that it was us. Like, we did this. Look at what we can do. Look how much power that we can exert, and look how much control we have over y'all. So, whoo, crazy. And then we cut to Jim and Kenny, because they were out in the woods or whatever, and so they made it through the night, and Kenny was still in the little cabin sleep when Jim is calling out to him. So he jumps up like super alert because, you know, what's going on. And they ended up being by a water source in a creek, and there was like a whole like cabbage patch growing near the water and different other vegetables and stuff like that. And so Kenny is smiling and he's like, and Jim is super excited. He's like, this is enough to feed like everybody for months. And unfortunately, this will probably be one of the last times we ever see Kenny smile the rest of the season. Like, I can't imagine him smiling anymore, because at this juncture he has no idea what's waiting for him when he gets back home. Q's title card. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The vision is ours to see. Que sera, sera. Because honestly, what's gonna be is gonna be. So we're in Camden, and we know that Tabitha has found Victor's father. So she's waking up on the couch. So something happened. There was a little bit of exhaustion, and honestly, it makes sense, but she must have passed out or something. I don't know. And he's sitting in a chair, and he has a gun pulled on her, and he's like, look, I don't know what kind of game you're pulling, but my son has been missing for years. And you over here talking about you saw him 4 days ago. Lady, this don't make any sense. So if you're not gonna tell me the truth, the cops will figure it out. Because guess what, while you were sleeping, I called them. And she's like, no, wait, like I can literally prove to you, like, I'm not lying. So she gets on the internet and she Googles herself and her family and all the articles that they're missing, when they went missing, and everything like that. And so she's talking to him, and she's telling him things that she would have no idea of knowing unless she was telling the truth. And the cops show up, and he decides to not turn her in, and was just like, oh, you know, I was tripping. It was something that it wasn't. And he tells her, you know, you're talking about this bottle tree. He said, but the only way you could know that is if you were telling the truth, because I've only told one other person when my wife started seeing this tree and planting these trees and saying that she could go through these things. And I told the cop, and he died 20 years ago. So at this point, him mentioning that the cop that he told about this died 20 years ago kind of gives us some semblance of like how long Victor has been trapped. Because at this point, a lot of people on the internet, like, what is going on with the time and how does it work in Middle America? Because Victor and his father look the same age. But then if you gave that description to the cops 20 years ago, how old is Victor? Because I assumed he had been in there for like 30 years because he looks like in his 40s. But dad looks to be late 40s too, if not early to mid 50s. So it wouldn't make any, that age gap wouldn't make any sense for anything. So it's like, how is the town aging them? Like, what's happening? So we still like don't know this information. And so Tabitha's like, I think I was supposed to come back to find you. And he was like, I think you were supposed to come back for what's in the basement. Back in Middle America, Sara goes to let Christy know that Tianchen has passed. And tension and stuff are still high. You know, not a lot of people trust Sara. So Boyd is like, look, she can roam, she can do whatever, like it is what it is. I, as somebody who's been infected with the town and hearing the voices and seeing all the things, you know, I'm gonna choose to forgive her. But not everybody chose to forgive her, and you know what, she's resigned to that. She was just like, look, I just thought y'all should know, because none of the rest of them were there. So anybody in Colony House and anybody that wasn't in the immediate vicinity of the post office and where Jade was staying, you wouldn't even know this news. So Marielle, figured out the girlfriend's name, comes out, and you know, Christy's a little bit heartbroken. And then we move to Jade helping Boyd bring her to the church, and Boyd is just like I said in the last episode, who does Boyd have to go to besides a dead priest? And he cracks with Jade, and so you can kind of see their relationship budding in a little bit. And he's like, you know, I couldn't do anything, like they made me watch. And he's just cracking under the fact and the realization of how diabolical and how sinister the monsters are. And honestly, the way that he sounds, it just sounds like that hope that that apparition of his wife was telling him, like, you know, in your hope, in your hope. It seems as though this might be echoing in the back of his mind, because they have just shown a type of power that they've never shown before. And what can they do against that? Like, what can you do? And you've had this thread and you're trying to keep hope alive for everybody, just for them to use you, the head of the snake, essentially, the figurehead of this hope, and crack you. Because the monsters know if they crack Boyd, they get everybody. They don't have to get everybody else one by one. They just need to get one person. So we're seeing this, and it's also snowing. So we know that they brought the storm in last season that rotted all the crops, and now they're bringing a new season. And Victor said before in last season, I've been here for years. When things change, it is not a good sign. And this has never happened. There's never been a change in seasons. And so now they've had a major storm which rotted their crops, and now they are losing their food source. And now it's winter. They don't have any clothes. They've made it so that they couldn't even sleep at night. They're haunting them in their dreams. Like, they are literally killing them from the inside out. So Boyd talks to Donna. Again, I love when they're on screen together. And this is just like, things are boiling. So Boyd represents like the hope, and Donna represents like the realism. And it can sometimes come across as like she doesn't want to leave, but it's not that she doesn't want to leave. It's like, don't give hope when we don't know our enemy that well enough to have our hope rooted in something. So right now the hope is just floating around. Oh, Hope Floats, what a good movie. But it's just floating around in the air, and there's no proof that they can do anything to actually leave. So she obviously got the news of Tianjin, and they are battling it out. Donna was like, how many animals did you save? And Boyd is like, the fuck? Like, Tianjin just died. She said, I know. So how many animals did you save? And was it worth the life that we lost? So he's like, that was our only resource, and they literally released all of them in the middle of the night, and we need that. And she was like, no, we need each other. Don't nobody need anything with these animals. Literally, people are dying, and I am at my wit's end. And he's like, what the fuck do you want me to do? It's super late, so I don't want to yell too loud. But he's like, what the fuck do you want me to do? You're sitting over here and you're already stressing out about the crops dying, and we don't have any food, and how we're going to make it through the winter. And so when all of our food is going down the middle of the fucking street, and I go to try to save it, you're trying to be up in my face telling me that maybe it wasn't worth it because we lost one human after they sat there and made me fucking watch? Are you kidding me, Donna? Tense. And she's like, okay. I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. I'm simply saying we are playing a game that is rigged for us to lose. We do not know the rules. They know that we do not know the rules, and we are running in here blind. And all we have are each other. I can't say what decision that I made that I would have made if I were in your shoes. And you're right, you are doing the best that you can under the circumstances, because they are beating us left and right. So what I will do and what I can do is focus on the things that I can touch. The cow that they ripped their throats out, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna drag it, I'm gonna skin it. We're gonna get as much meat as we can salvage before the meat spoils and we end up literally just losing a month's worth of food because of this situation. So she leaves, and Boyd is like just really frustrated. He, throwing bottles around. I wouldn't have thrown my liquor source, but that's just me. But Donna was saying some things that was really triggering, and again, it goes back to, Don't look to me to have answers and then criticize me for the choices that I make. And these are choices that you aren't making. Somebody has to make the difficult decisions. And unfortunately, I was the one who lived. But you have to remember, me and Tian Chen went out there. It could have been me and Tian Chen dying, and I still would have sacrificed myself so that the rest of you can at least eat and give you a few more months to live with whatever is going on. It's not my fault that they didn't let me die. I begged to die. It's not my fault. And so I definitely understand his defensiveness, because she failed to realize, like, you could have also, 2 people could have been buried. Then what? Who are you fighting with then? Who are you going to ask, was it worth it then? Nobody. So it's really giving, for me, I love Donna, but I need her to be a leader, and she is crumbling fast. So for her to be the leader of Colony House and him the leader of, like, the town, he doesn't have a council for real, and she should be his counsel, and they should be able to go to each other. But it's almost like she gets to this point of blaming him for them thinking that they could leave, and she's not going to say it outright. She says, I blame myself for having hope and thinking that it was possible for us to go. But you wouldn't be coming at him if you didn't also place blame on him too. So Fatima still can't keep down any food. It's to the point where, her teeth are falling out because she is just not getting any nutrition. She's super malnourished. It's just really, really bad. So Mari sees her and she's like, look, the baby is fine. Everything, I don't hear anything. I still hear a heartbeat. I'm not seeing any other symptoms aside from the fact that you're not eating anything. So let's just treat the dehydration real quick, and then we can give you some medication to help you be able to hold down some food. Rightfully so, Fatima and Ellis are just a little bit skeptical because, Mari was, recovering from a drug addiction. Then she was one of the people that was trapped by the monsters in her mind, but they allow her to give them enough news and to treat Fatima enough to get some sense of relief to make them feel as if Fatima is going to be okay. So while this is happening, Christy is out with Boyd, and she's trying to be the shoulder to him that he was to her when Kenny's father died. So at this juncture, news has traveled. A lot of people are coming to where Boyd is to just kind of offer some condolences and just really just prep for Tian Chen's funeral. And who comes waltzing up all super happy? Jim and Kenny. And they're running into town. They're like, hey guys, look, we found a creek. There's a water source. There's soil that we can put crops in. We found a whole bunch of food. Like, they're super excited and they're coming back. And everybody's just kind of like staring at them. And Jim and Kenny stop and they're like, what's wrong? And so Jim looks at Boyd's face and he's like, are my kids okay? And Boyd's like, kids are fine. They're back at the house. They're fine. And so Kenny's like, well, whose blood is that on your shirt? Nobody says a thing. And Boyd just looks down and he's looking around and he sees his mom is not outside. And so he's calling for his mom, and Boyd's like, Kenny, like something happened. And he's like, no, like, no. And he's runs up to where his mom's house is, but doesn't go inside, but he's calling for her in Chinese. He's calling out to her, and his voice is just cracking and just breaking with each call. And they finally tell him, like, there was an incident last night and the monsters got her. And it is so heartbreaking, like, literally, to see Kenny like so excited to come back with news to just help the people, because essentially that's all he wants to do is help and have a place where he can contribute. And we are likely never going to see this man smile ever again. So Chrissy follows him. He goes to the diner, and Chrissy ends up following him because, you know, they had like a little bit of a thing when in season 1 before her girlfriend came back and everything like that. And, you know, he asks if Chrissy saw his mom yet, and she says no. And he just has a request of her, and he's like, you know, when I saw my dad, the last image that I have of him is what the monsters did to him, and that's an image that I can't shake. I can barely even remember what he looks like before that. So can you do everything you can to make my mom look like my mom? I want to see her, but I don't want to see her like this. And Chrissy is kind of like taken aback. Like, she's a doctor. Like, she's not a mortician or anything like that. But Tianchen was literally the mother. Like, that's Mama Chen. Like, she was the mother of the town when Donna couldn't think, and Boyd couldn't think, and Jade couldn't think, and all the tensions and stuff were high. She would be sitting in the room thinking and plotting and listening to all sides of the stories to come up with a solution. And she was able to really take a bird's eye view of everything that was going on, and to be able to make decisions and help them move forward for like short-term decisions or like medium-term decisions, while Donna and Boyd used that time to really plot and plan for something long-term. So she was absolutely integral. And to me, I feel, and I'm pretty sure I called her like a council member in my previous review. So that is a huge loss, not only just as a matriarch, but as an unbiased, clear, logical and rational, and less emotional. She had more emotional intelligence, I'll say that. She had more emotional intelligence to be able to help the key players, the key decision makers, make decisions. So huge blow to the town. Chrissy agrees to it, and she leaves. In the jukebox, if y'all remember, this jukebox in the diner that be randomly coming on starts playing Celebrate Good Times, come on. And Kenny is not having that shit. The town is sociopathic, psychopathic, diabolical, insane. Not y'all killed his mama and then you play in this jukebox. There is no electricity. It's not plugged in. There's nothing, and you're playing Celebrate Good Times. And so Kenny can't get it to stop, so he just smashes the entire thing in order for it to stop playing music. That is so fucked up. Back at Jim's house, he runs there to make sure that Julie and Ethan are okay, but Julie is rightfully pissed. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna get some things off my chest, and honestly, I don't care if it's disrespectful at all. You need to get your shit together. Mom left, she is gone. It's been 4 days. Now, let's pause right here. Tab told Victor's dad that it's the last time she saw Victor was 4 days ago. Julie says to Jim, it's been 4 days. Are they talking about the same 4 days? Or is Tabitha experiencing something slower than the town is experiencing? So every time we're in middle America, so my question was, every time that we're in middle America, is this like immediately following Tabitha going through the tree? You know what I mean? And so are they parallel 4 days, or are we seeing everything that's happening as like immediate chain of events after Tabitha left? Because at this point the town knows a body is missing and she is gone. So I'm very curious in that. So at this point, I'm like, what's the time and space continuum across this? So I'm really, really paying attention to that. And so we're getting a little bit more information in episode 2 about the timeline, how long people have been gone, people have been missing, etc., etc. But anyways, going back to this argument, she's like, you need to get your shit together. Mom is gone, and you thought it was a great idea for our only other parent to then go chasing after her. Ethan almost died. I'm trying to keep him alive. Tian Chen has died. Like, what the fuck? I cannot do this anymore. And so Jim's like, wait, hold on. What you mean you can't do this no more? She was like, look, when Tommy died, okay, you and Mom literally just stopped talking to each other. And you stopped talking to us. You stopped taking care of us. I was 15 years old when I had to step up and be a parent to my little brother. And here I am also dealing with the grief and the loss of my mom. But you act like the grief is so all-consuming and that you have to go and you have to find her, that you're forgetting that there are 2 other children here left on this earth with you. The same way that you forgot that there were 2 other children left on this earth with you when you lost another child. So get your fucking shit together, because I'm not doing it. And at first I was like, who are you talking to? But then I was like, you know what? The whole family gets on my nerves. So honestly, Jim deserves it. Julie, whack him, and then whack him again. And when you think you're done, hit him one more again, because that was the dumbest shit that you could do, Jim. Like, you're not this hero. You're not some martyr. You're not anything except a father who literally cannot think, and a father who does not show up for his family. Like, it is what it is. You're not getting any Father of the Year mugs. Like, it just is what it is. You suck. So back in Camden, Victor's dad is sharing more information about the voices and things that his wife was hearing while he has Tabitha in the basement. Everything that she heard and everything that she dreamt of, she told him that she was chosen. And so he's telling her about all these different things and the places and everything that she would see in her dreams until she would paint them. And so Tabitha's walking around stunned because she's seeing pictures of the town. And he's talking about, you know, she said that there were people trapped in a place and they were losing hope. And when they lost hope, they only had each other to cling onto. They were afraid and they didn't know how to get back. And there were also children who needed to be freed. And so she started like going and visiting this tree in a park, and she would put a bunch of bottles on it. And when he would ask her, like, why are you doing that? And she said, this is so I know how to get back. And so now we're seeing this tree that he's talking about that she would go to and put all these glass bottles and everything as her portal to get back. We're now seeing that Victor's mom created the faraway trees that are in Middle America, because we know that Tabitha got pushed. She went through a faraway tree to then get to the tower before she got pushed out. And Victor had already talked about this in season 1 and in season 2. And it saved a few lives, Julie and Victor included, on going into the trees, but then not knowing where they were coming out on the other side. So now we're piecing together more information that Victor's mom was kind of like getting like premonition stuff well before her and the 2 kids got trapped into this town. But now it's sounding like she didn't get trapped. It sounds like she knew where to go and went in there on purpose. And as he says this, Tabitha comes across a painting of the little boy in white, and she stops breathing. Back in Middle America, Christy heads over to the church, and she goes to see Tian Chen, and Jade is in there, and you know, she's kind of breaking down a little bit. She's like, Kenny asked me to make her look nice. I don't know, I've never done this, and I don't want to let him down. And Jade's like, you know, you're gonna do the best that you can. Even Sara comes in and she's like, you know, when we were at the diner and just, you know, in happier times, we would try to play dress up and just pretend, you know, we were going to like different places and stuff like this. And this is the dress that she always put on. So I think, you know, if you dress her in this, she would have loved to be dressed in it. So they leave Christy to do something that is very stressful and very emotional and something that she feels is impossible. But, you know, she's going to push through because that's all Kenny asked for. So she's going to try to figure it out. Fatima got cleared medically by Mari, so she's back at the house, and I think that girl's name was Nikki, who was harassing her about the bathroom and stuff in episode 1. She was apologizing and everything like that, and Fatima saw her on the porch, and so she's like, you know, I shouldn't have been that mean to you. Like, it's just messed up. Tensions are high. People aren't sleeping. Like, that was fucked up of me. And so Fatima's like, you know, I get it. I understand. And she's like, is that like all the crap? And the girl was like, yeah, we're just pulling all of the stuff that's rotted, and we're just going to try to compost it as we plant new crops and smaller crops in different areas and use it for the soil, just in case, like, you know, the land here is like super bad. And Fatima's like looking at it, and she's like, oh, okay. So it's still outside in the bag, and the girl goes into the house, and Fatima is like salivating. So she reaches into the garbage and she grabs one of the rotted pieces of vegetables, and she eats it. And it's the first time she's able to eat and not vomit. And she starts pulling hella rotted food out of the garbage. And she's in a corner sneaking and eating it and relishing it. And I'm going to say this again. Fatima, that baby belonged to the streets. That's the monsters' kids. Now, I already said in the last episode that I don't think that it's rotted. Their crop looked decomposed. It looked like dead flesh, and we know the monsters eat humans. Does this baby want to eat people? Interesting. So now Fatima is trying to like sneak rotted food so that she can survive, and it sucks for her because if she can't eat the real food, she's going to lose her baby. She's starving. She will die of malnutrition. And so there's just a lot of pleasure coming from the fact that she's finally able to eat, and a huge realization that she has to hide whatever it is that's going on with her. Girl, I would not want to be you. So Boyd goes to see Kenny, and he finds Kenny filling up some glass bottles with some gasoline, and Boyd's like, what are you doing? Talk to me. What's going on? And Kenny's like, you know, I'm going to the caves. We know where they sleep at during the day. We're gonna burn this whole shit to the ground. And so Boyd's like, okay, I'll come with you. At this point, there's no reason in arguing with Kenny because this is just the grieving process, and he understands this. So they go out to the caves, and you know, they're setting up the rope and everything like that, getting everything planned and set up, and they're just talking and having chats and communications. And Boyd tells him, you know, with the last 2 people that were down there who were stuck down there, they didn't see anything down there. They didn't see them, so maybe they moved. At this point, we have no idea where the monsters are. So what would you really be accomplishing if we set this thing on fire? Would we even kill anyone? And Kenny's like, well, we killed one before. And he's like, okay, but it was already dead. We don't know what's happening. And Kenny just breaks down, and he's like, you know, they killed my mom. Like, she was all alone and no one was here for her, and they killed her. Like, how can I let them get away with that? And Boyd tells him she wasn't alone. And Boyd finally confesses that he was there and they made him watch. And he was like, you know, but your mom, you think that she was alone and she was afraid, but your mother was so brave and so courageous throughout the whole thing. The last thing that she said before she died was these things, and I'm probably going to butcher it. And so he says it, and Kenny starts crying even harder. And Boyd's like, what does that mean? Like, what is it? In her last words that she kept repeating that Boyd was found chanting when Jade found him was, take care of him because he'll be all alone now. Mama Chin, oh my God, I'm about to cry. about to cry because Jim and his kids were right there. Like, y'all could have taken anybody else and you took Mama Chin. Like, Kenny does not deserve this loss. And for her, through her pain, through the screams, to keep saying it over and over and over until her last breath, until the point where Boyd, even if it was broken Chinese or wrong pronunciations, he knew exactly what she said, enough for Kenny to decipher his mom's last words. But this information is enough to break him out of his grief decision that he was going to make to do something very reckless and very irrational. And Boyd, comforts him and takes him back into town. So we're back in Camden, and Victor's dad is giving more information about when, like, the timeline of when his wife started hearing voices and stuff like that. And she had, like, got on drugs. She was hearing voices and she got on drugs, and then it just kind of like got worse, and so her behavior was becoming a little bit more erratic. And so he talks about how he wasn't really believing her, but what else could he do except buy her the canvases and kind of entertain the things and stuff that she was saying. And he was like, if everybody in this town is trapped, then how did she find a way to get in? And more importantly, how did you get out? So as he's telling this tale of the people and of the stories that he thought were stories that his wife was telling, in Middle America, this is basically a voiceover. We're seeing everybody at the funeral services for Tianchen, and they're clinging together. Faces are beat. Hope does not exist in the room, and if it does, it's really only in a few people, because you could literally suffocate in the church with the way that every single person in there looks. Like, you feel what they feel. Man. And honestly, just even as cast members, the actress herself, Elizabeth Moy, has been there since season 1 up until this. So it's more than just a loss for the characters, it's a loss for the real people. So a lot of real emotions, even mourning a cast member that's not going to be there every day with you anymore, because of the type of show and stuff that it is. It's just bleeding through the screen. Like, you have no choice but to be just as sad as the people in this town. So Boyd walks out, the funeral is over, and Boyd is not doing well at all. And Ellis, of all people, because they were not on good terms in season 1, but they've been trying, but Ellis is the first person to ask Boyd if he's okay. And Boyd is honest and tells him no. And Ellis is trying to be there for his father, but Boyd is literally like angry. Like, he is upset and he's really ready to fight back. And Ellis is trying to level it with him, trying to get him to be calm and everything. But honestly, like, it's just really not working. Like, Boyd has reached his breaking point. And it's so sad because it's the very thing that the monsters mocked him for. Like, this is what they want, and they may be getting it. And so while this is happening, Boyd kind of like has this look settle over his face, and he looks to Ellis and he says, I need you to help me catch a monster. At this point, game the fuck on, basically. And so now, like, a little bit more hope, because honestly that fire inside was like dying for me. I'm like, oh my god, I'm watching Boyd crash out, rightfully so. But for him to just kind of stop and really dig deep and be like, we can't give them what they want, because if he gives up, he knows that everybody else will give up, and he knows then the monsters will have won. Not the death of Tian Chen necessarily being the thing that makes him lose, the death in and of itself, but what her death means. If he allows it to break him, he knows that the monsters will have broken everyone there. And so it was really nice to see that the fire, the little embers are still, there's a little bit there left in him. And it's also nice to see that the person he then ends up asking to help him fight back is his son. So the town is the reason that his son and his relationship was torn apart, because it possessed his mom. And now this town may be the very thing that brings him and his son back together. This could just be me loving English and symbology and everything like that, but it's two different parallels from season 1 to season 3. So that's kind of how I'm viewing that. You tell me how you view it. So everybody's going back home, and it's just, you know, somber times, depressed times. It's time to prep for the winter. What are we gonna do for clothes? Jim and Kenny did come back with food, so it's like, okay, let's try to like store this and try to get back into a routine, even though we just suffered this great loss. So Jim's in the house, the kids are getting settled back in, and they're just kind of all like going off doing their own thing. And Jim is just, you know, kind of also contending with the fact that he has not been a father at all. And right when you can kind of see him just taking a deep breath, the phone rings. Now, if you watched previous seasons, the last time the phone rang, the town fucked with him bad. And I mean bad. They didn't have no... Now, that's something he didn't deserve. He did not deserve. So the phone rings. He's remembering what happened the last time a phone rang for him specifically. So he's cautiously walking over to the phone on the wall, the same phone that the cord is literally split, hanging on the ground. And he picks it up and he says, hello? And there's this static and there's this crackling. And then you hear, Dad? This is Tommy. So there's that from season 3, episode 2. The pressure is getting worse. Like, I have not felt this sick and stressed for people or in a show since the first 3 seasons of The Walking Dead. Like, I want to vomit every frame of this show. And it's a testament to how good the writing is, how good the acting is, and just how good the story is playing out and how the story is developing. My God, for every win, there's 1,000-ton like loss that comes hailing their way. Winter is coming. We have food, but we lost the heart of our town. People's minds are breaking, and when your mind is breaking, you also tend to lose trust, because now there's a paranoia that's going to seep in and infect everyone. Now, this particular episode didn't really show a lot of the other people, just a lot of the main cast. So I'm just speculating, like, when you have things like this happen, panic starts to set in because no one is safe. They were already freaking out when they figured out that they couldn't go to sleep because the monsters was attacking people in their sleep. Now they all know that the monsters are playing with them. So at any point in time, any of them could die. Like, now I'm wondering if there is a way for the monsters to circumvent the effects of the talisman. Because once they're inside of a place, it doesn't matter if you put the talisman on the door. They're inside, it doesn't affect them. It doesn't reduce any powers, and it doesn't reduce their ability to harm you. Right now, it's just keeping them from getting into a location. But if they've figured out, or if they've always known that all they have to do is just wait inside of something for you to go to render your your ward powerless, then they can just do that at any time, anywhere. And so no one is safe at all. So I did get some answers on some timelines. We know that Victor's dad told the cop about Victor and everything that his wife was seeing, and that man had died 20 years prior. Now, he didn't necessarily say that he died like soon after Victor went missing. It just says 20 years ago. Victor looks to be in his 40s. I have no idea, but the dad doesn't necessarily look to be in his 60s. But the town does have a way of sucking the life out of you. So I'm kind of like, okay, we're working with something. We're between 20 and 30 years, for me at least, for timeline wise. And then we still have that 4 days to contend with. It's 4 days based on Middle America, but it's 4 days based on Camden. Whose 4 days? In coming episodes, will we see the timeline no longer match? I don't know. Or will we ever get to a point during this season where Tabitha somehow makes it back, and while she's like, hey guys, it's been 10 days and I finally found a way to get back, they're like, it's been 3 months. We don't know yet. And that's really what I'm looking for at this point, because honestly, I know that the only thing that lies ahead of me is devastation and heartbreak. So in order to keep me from crumbling every episode, I'm going to focus on the things that can keep my frontal lobe occupied. And it's the numbers game. How long have they been there? What time frame is it? Again, the last concrete thing that we saw was in season 1, where it had been 90 days since the last time somebody had died. But so much stuff has happened. I haven't seen Boyd keeping track of the days outside of the post office like it was before. So do we even know where we are? What's our sense of time? What's our sense of reality in this terrible fucking town? No clue. But that is going to wrap up today's episode. Whoo, this was crazy. Episode 2 is already 59 minutes long. Like, don't be on your phone. Don't do nothing. Like, pay attention. I know they're dropping nuggets. I know they're dropping hints. I'm sure it'll unfold even more as the episodes come along. So make sure you are watching every Sunday. And also get on Twitter, because the cast has been live tweeting with the rest of us mere normies, us muggles on the internet, and just reacting and just having like raw reactions to everything that's going on. If you like this video, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts, and you can also follow me in other things that I'm posting about on Instagram at So There's That Podcast. Again, all of my shenanigans and everything that's going on inside of my brain and inside of my heart, I also discuss on Twitter at Kivanshi. It's a lot more unfiltered, a lot more in the moment, and less structured in a way. So if you want to interact with me on there, feel free to do so, and I will catch y'all in the next episode. Bye.